Welcome to interviews and insights from our Southwest Smart Manufacturing meetings. A recurring series of events run from the RDI Hub, this event was kindly sponsored by IDEAM, the Irish Digital Engineering and Advanced Manufacturing Cluster, which supports businesses to collaborate, innovate and grow. Find out more at ideam.ie. I am here today in the Hub with Rabia Mirza, who is a HR and leadership consultant. Rabia just gave a presentation today at the Southwest Smart Manufacturing event, and the presentation was called Empowered Women, Empowered Business. Rabia, you are very welcome here today. Rabia, could you tell me a little bit about your background, and then we'll go into your consultancy work and the types of clients that you work with.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's a lovely trip to Kerry from Dublin. Very informative event this morning. So thank you for having me and for having me speak about empowered women, empowered business. I'm based in Dublin. My business is based in Dublin, called Leadership and HR Solutions. I've been working in leadership and HR for 20 years in Ireland, Canada and US. And I embarked on my own journey, started my own business a couple of years ago. I primarily serve to the industrial manufacturing and supply chain sectors, aka male-dominated industries. That's the industries that I've worked in prior to the business, so I feel very comfortable. I understand the business, and I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to industrial manufacturing. Yeah, so I was extremely excited with some of the content today.
Very good. As you just mentioned about being in a very male-dominated background, very male-dominated industry, your presentation today had some sobering stats. You were saying that the CSO surveyed 700 enterprises and only 25% were female on board of directors, 19% had female chairpersons, and you said 7 in 10 executives are male. So you're calling for change and you're calling for more women in executive roles. So tell me more about your why you believe that companies should have more women in senior roles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those stats were quite impressive. It's kind of hard to believe that it's still happening. It's still not in favour of women, right? Even in this day and age, 2024, which is 2024 years after AD. Yeah. So if you think of it that way, we're quite far behind. One of the good things that came out of the survey was that 4 out of 10 enterprises are looking to get more females onto the senior executive team. So that's telling us that, Ireland is on its path to making those positive changes. And, I believe that women and men, there's absolutely no difference when it comes to capabilities, when it comes to abilities, when it comes to competence. If you have the exact same background, education, regardless of gender, you have the same, like you're the same. There's no difference. People that I work with in my business on a one-to-one level, which is primarily C-suite level executives and directors, and when I'm talking to them behind the scenes, like the one-on-one private conversations, there's absolutely no difference in the challenges that are faced by men and women. So sometimes people project themselves differently, but that's, again, not a man or woman thing. People are just different, and that's really it. But I think bringing a lot of variety, different ideas, different perspectives from women, they need to be showcased at senior executive levels because we have a lot to say and we have a lot to contribute. And it is a hindrance for some women. They will let that get in the way, saying, well, nobody really lets me speak, or I don't feel I can speak up in a male-dominated industry. Like if you're the only woman on the senior team, like I was in my when I was working for companies, I was the only one sitting amongst males, and then I had the brown skin on top of that, so that was like an added layer. But I didn't let that get to me. Like, to me, it was always like fun. Let's do this. Like, I'm no different. So I never let that get in the way, and that's what I try to do with women, is for them to embrace their strengths and their weaknesses. and hardships that we all encounter in life, and to make peace with it. And once you do that, then, the power is yours. You are empowered.
That leads me so nicely to my next question. An important part of your presentation was about attitudes and beliefs, and your attitudes made you very comfortable in a kind of a male-dominated industry. So tell me more about how you help women present themselves or project their best selves, and to talk more about the whole attitude and how important your attitude is in business.
Yeah, attitude and beliefs are very important, and sometimes that can be hard to get across to a sector like industrial manufacturing, where you're talking with a lot of engineers and technical people. But nevertheless, it's there, the type of attitude women have towards themselves, men have towards women in terms of being in senior roles, because primarily the male-dominated industries are dominated by males. So they are the decision makers, and it's their attitudes and beliefs towards why women are in those senior roles or not. It is based on everyone's attitudes and beliefs, in my opinion. And, the common feedback you get is, well, there's not enough women out there to put them in senior roles. And I don't agree with that, because I come across women that are engineers, that are in the engineering fields, different fields, mechanical, electrical, electronic, industrial, manufacturing. Like, it's just, there's so much out there, and I'm like, why can't you find them? Or, I was having a chat with somebody after the event, and that's one of the things he said, like, how can I, as a startup, he's got about 8 people in his team, how can I have more women, because I want to start off on the right foot? And I said, they're out there. So I'm looking forward to having that conversation with him to see how we can make that happen. And it'll be great for a company that's just starting out in that space, to see how they can find that gender balance in the senior leadership space.
It was really interesting today. Part of your presentation was you went through a case study about executive coaching with the female founder. Can you tell me about your process and the impact, the before and after, where she started out and where she ended up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what I do is work with companies to develop their leadership teams, and depending on the challenges or areas that they want to focus on. The particular one I talked about today was an IT consulting firm, and their challenges were around change management, culture amalgamation, because they had recently been acquired by a bigger company. So you have generally those silos, people get used to their own kind of pact, and then how you amalgamate that can be a challenge, and that causes conflict. And then they also wanted to get more females into the senior roles. So those were the kind of key areas we looked at. So I did a review, analysis, and proposal, and that led to training all of the leadership team. That was men and women. And then I worked individually with all of them on a one-to-one basis afterwards to get into the deeper issues, because everyone is different, and how you approach your issues is really very individual, and that's what the one-to-one coaching is about. And the example that I shared was, a CEO who had become a group CEO with a much bigger remit from one country to 7, and she had been chosen to do that. She was put into that role, but she lacked the confidence to say, can I actually do this? And she's been working for the company for 25 years, and they believe in her, but she didn't believe in herself. So through the coaching, we looked at her belief systems, her attitudes, her strengths, areas that she needed, that she felt she wasn't very comfortable in, which were around conflict. A lot of people are not comfortable when it comes to conflict, but I make it fun and easy for people to do that. So we looked at those issues, implemented practical tools, and practiced some of the challenges. So, for example, if there was conflict, if there was a meeting coming up where there was going to be potential conflict, then we'd have a session to kind of prepare for that and then have the feedback. So, yeah, I mean, overall, her confidence increased immensely after 6 hours of working with me. And less burnout, less stress, much happier in the role, and just being more comfortable in herself as a person. I mean, people look different by the end of their work with me. It's like, maybe I should be in a different, I don't know, like a physical transformation, because that's what actually happens is people have a glow by the end of it, because I get people to be themselves, because, it's called life. It just shapes us and it gives us all these unnecessary limitations. So it's about getting rid of all that crap, excuse my French, and just allowing the person to be themselves. That's what I do.
And in the space of just 6 hours, I'm fascinated by 6 hours, you're able to give her a framework and tools to address different situations or present herself differently in certain situations.
Yeah. I mean, she had to do a lot of the work as well. I'm there as a guide. Let's try this, let's try that. What works best for her or him. But she has to do the work. The client has to do the work. The coachee has to do the work. It would be like me giving you a recipe to cook something. I can give you the recipe, I can buy the vegetables and the meat for you, but you're going to have to cook, right?
Exactly.
Or if it's, an exercise plan, I can give you the exercise plan that suits your shape and body and your goals, but you're going to have to do the exercises. If you don't do the exercises, you're not going to see the results. If you don't cook the dish, you're not going to see the dish. You're not going to see what it's like. So I use a lot of analogies in my coaching, and that's 2 daily things that you can relate to. Most people can.
That is great. And my last question, Rabia, if someone would like to find out more about the services you provide, how would they get in touch?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Rabia Mirza, or my company name is leadershipandhr.com. And the services are one-on-one executive coaching, and I do people management training, so what's commonly known as soft skills, which there's nothing soft about them. They're quite tough actually to navigate, and HR consulting. And one of the biggest things in the HR consulting space that I do is, having worked in industry for about 20 years in HR in senior roles, I think there's a different way of handling HR matters. Yes, you have to follow the law and the processes, but there are different ways you can do it. For example, if you're handling poor performing employees, there's a different way than to just go down a PIP, process improvement plan, or disciplinary path. It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I've done plenty of them. They never really work. So I've come up with a different way of dealing with it, and that seems to work. So it's a happier ending for all sides, for the company and for the employee.
That can only be good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Rabia, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and have a chat with me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Lovely being here.
Cheers.